how the state security agency placed our national security at risk. The leaking of classified intelligence documents, most notably in the 2015 spy cables released by Al Jazeera, in collaboration with The Guardian, unveiled a troubling chapter in South Africa's post-apartheid security landscape. These disclosures, which comprised hundreds of secret cables exchanged between South Africa's State Security Agency, SSA, and foreign intelligence services, laid bare both systemic vulnerabilities within our security apparatus and the profound consequences of compromised information. At their core, the spy cables revealed the opaque realities of global espionage, networks of covert communication, hidden alliances, and sensitive operational details that underpin national security work worldwide. From 2006 to 2014, cables between the SSA and intelligence services such as Mossad, MI6, the CIA, and Russia's FSB chronicled cooperation, points of contention, and shared concerns. That such information, intended for strictly controlled audiences, was leaked to the media shook not only South Africa's intelligence community, but also its diplomatic relationships. Reflecting on how these leaks endangered national security requires understanding both the internal weaknesses that made exposure possible and the external fallout that followed. According to one leaked assessment, foreign espionage was booming in South Africa, with an estimated 140 foreign spies operating inside government departments, diplomatic missions, and even strategic state facilities. This assessment lamented basic security failures, lax information security procedures, poor vetting processes, and civil servants unintentionally facilitating access to classified areas. These human and structural flaws illustrate how national security is not only the product of high-level strategies, but also of everyday vigilance. The leaked cables suggested that, at many levels of government, protocols meant to protect sensitive information were inadequately enforced. When documents containing internal internalises and operational briefs were leaked, the integrity of South Africa's intelligence posture was suddenly public. From foreign services, tactics such as Iran's use of South African territory to navigate sanctions, to the SSA's own covert collaborations, the world saw precisely what should have remained confidential. The domestic reaction to these leaks highlighted the multifaceted risks posed. South African cabinet condemned the disclosures, arguing that leaking classified materials undermines operational effectiveness and may put the country's security in jeopardy, while promising investigations into the breach. But beyond immediate political statements, the leaks triggered broader concerns about diplomatic trust. Intelligence sharing between states is built on an expectation of discretion. Once that trust is eroded, foreign partners may reconsider cooperation or sharing of sensitive data.
The spy cables reveal the rules for spying on South African citizens, regulations applauded by some former spies.
We have amongst the best oversight mechanisms in the world, even better than some of the so-called great democracies.
But despite the praise, one former Minister of Intelligence fears the rules aren't tough enough.
I don't believe there's the necessary checks and balances over the security and intelligence agencies.
The leaked papers reveal the weaknesses in the regulations. This surveillance policy, dated 2006, says it was drawn up in line with the law, but it includes one major loophole.
The Director General may approve any deviation from the provisions of this policy.
That appears to put South Africa's spies above their own policy and the law. If a spy wants to put someone under physical surveillance, they fill out this form. Then they discuss the application before a panel to get their line manager and Deputy Director General's signatures. Since Edward Snowden's leaks, the focus has moved to electronic surveillance. In South Africa, that's reportedly done from this nondescript building in Johannesburg.
Domestic interception of communications is governed by an act which requires approval by a designated judge. And in my experience, that judge was quite demanding.
But the system is open to abuse.
Okay, so I've got Hector's number.
Stephen Hofstadter is an investigative journalist who suspected police were illegally tapping his phone. He later found his number had been slipped into a court order for a totally separate phone tap.
It's lying to the judge. I mean, this is an old trick. Apparently, the apartheid security forces used to do that as well.
Now such tricks are being carried out by the same ANC that was once itself the target.
The state security agency says the law governs its actions. But with large loopholes and apartheid-era tricks of the trade, South Africa's spies still appear able to get around those rules, with consequences for the people and their privacy.
While fences keep the animals at bay, the spies have broken through. A secret report from December 2009 says they have total freedom of access to ministries, parliament and security installations, posing threats to national security. Another reveals South Africa suspects there are over 140 foreign spies in the country. Former spy chiefs have seen a major rise in espionage since apartheid.
Diplomatic presence in South Africa grew exponentially. And therefore the espionage activities increased.
The name of the game is that intelligence services around the world are interested in the secrets of other countries. South Africa is a big player on the continent.
Foreign spies also influenced a notorious multi-billion-dollar weapons purchase in 1999. The document says they played an active role in persuading decision-makers on the so-called arms deal. Computer security is also seriously flawed. Another secret report reveals an array of incidents. One computer had 8 malicious software applications, leaving military secrets exposed. Serious deficiencies leave the government vulnerable to fraud and corruption, and worst, to espionage. Millions of people, but according to their own reports, they're struggling to simply monitor dozens of foreign spies and organized criminals.
The spy cables expose South Africa and its services to reputational damage that could reverberate in future intelligence collaborations. There is a paradox at play. Intelligence agencies operate in secrecy precisely to safeguard national security. Yet such secrecy, when paired with poor oversight, can obscure critical vulnerabilities. The cables underscored internal contests within the SSA. Disagreements over foreign threats, such as diverging views on Al-Qaeda's presence and reliance on informants, which in itself involves risks if handled poorly. These insights reveal not only the mechanics of intelligence gathering, but also the consequences of dysfunctional systems made public. Moreover, the leaks reignited debates over transparency and accountability in democratic societies. Intelligence work necessarily involves secrecy, but unchecked secrecy can shield incompetence and undermine democratic oversight. Some critics feared that the fallout from the spy cables could be weaponized to justify overly restrictive secrecy laws, restricting press freedom and whistleblower protections, illustrating another dimension in which national security risks can manifest. In hindsight, the spy cables episode stands as a stark reminder of the fragility of national security in the digital age. Robust security infrastructure is only as strong as its weakest link, whether that is outdated protocols, human error, or insufficient accountability. For South Africa, the leaks were not merely a breach of classified files, but a mirror reflecting structural deficiencies, diplomatic risks, and the tensions between secrecy and democratic accountability. Protecting a nation in the 21st century demands not only secrecy where appropriate, but also transparent safeguards that ensure intelligence institutions serve citizens without exposing the state to unnecessary harm. The spy cables teach us that national security is not simply about keeping secrets. It is about securing trust, integrity, and resilience within every layer of the security apparatus. Their legacy prompts us to ask difficult questions about how we value both security and democratic openness in a world where information flows can so easily become dangers in themselves. Investigations into the spy cables leak began with an internal probe announced by then State Security Minister David Malabo, who condemned the disclosures as illegal and harmful to national security. However, the findings of this investigation were never made public, and no immediate accountability followed. The deeper failings exposed by the leak were later scrutinized by broader inquiries, including the 2018 High-Level Review Panel on the SSA, which found extensive political interference and unlawful intelligence operations, and the Zondo Commission, which further revealed corruption and abuses within the security services. The leak, together with the findings of these later inquiries, catalyzed significant long-term reforms. Legal loopholes in surveillance law were exposed, leading the Constitutional Court to declare bulk interception unlawful and prompting government to introduce a General Intelligence Laws Amendment Bill, GILAB, to regulate surveillance practices. Structural reforms followed, including dismantling the single SSA and creating 2 separate intelligence departments to improve governance and prevent concentrated power. These changes, alongside efforts to strengthen oversight and ensure judicial authorization of surveillance, reflect a delayed but substantial attempt to address systemic weaknesses revealed by the leak and restore constitutional compliance within the intelligence sector.